Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Wild Survivors has been fully unveiled, and as the name implies, it's got some wild archetypes, and we're gonna start with seemingly the odd one out. See, Nouvelles and Transcendrakes both reference older cards, and while today's theme doesn't do that, it does reference fighting games. That's right, we've got a roster of feisty fighters ready to take the gloves off and mix it up. So let's check out all our characters, learn those bread and butter combos, then see what assists we can tech in. It's time to test the caliber of our souls, strive for success, hone our killer instincts, and take this fight to the streets in Mortal Kombat to see who's the king of fighters. This is Vanquish Souls Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons and the fine people over at Dragon Shield. If you want to protect your cards with the strongest scales on the market that even come with their own lore while supporting the channel, use my affiliate link in the description. So what's the deal with Vanquish Souls? Well, we have another archetype full of monsters that have different types and attributes, but they're very focused on Earths, fires, and darks specifically, and their effects actually care about those attributes. While most themes interact with attributes in a roundabout kind of way, like deciding what can and can't be used as material for certain summons, or what works with certain pieces of support like, Umi control, Vanquish Souls asks you to make sure you keep particular attributes of monsters in hand to take full advantage of their effects. Each main deck monster has a quick effect that can resolve in either one of two ways, but you can't just pick it. You either have to reveal a monster in hand with a matching attribute, or have a specific combination of attributes among monsters you reveal depending on the monster. However, because you don't have to discard these cards, they effectively cost you nothing. And as long as the monsters survive, they're repeatable turn after turn, which can get out of hand with even just a little breathing room. There isn't much of a story here, which may in and of itself be a reference to how fighting games can, but don't necessarily need a complex story, but I like to think that some of the mechanics are really good reflections of fighting game mechanics. The biggest one is probably that Vanquish Soul shortens to verses, but my favorite so far is that the reveal monsters in hand mechanic might be meant to emulate assist mechanics in games like Marvel vs. Capcom. Alright, enough of the preamble, now it's time to cover our cast of characters. Vanquish Soul, Dr. Madlove is a level 4 Dark Fiend monster with 1200 attack and 2000 defense, and if normal or special summoned, you can add a Vanquish Soul spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. As for their quick effect, you can either reveal a Dark monster in hand to reduce a face-up monster's attack and defense your opponent controls by 500 each, or you can reveal a Dark and Earth monster in hand to return a face-up monster on the field with the lowest defense to the hand, your choice if tied. Be careful, it does not care who has the lowest defense monster. You can only use these effects once per turn, and you can't use them both on the same chain, so no summoning it, then attempting to bounce it back to your hand if things get spicy. Oh, and reminder that while the reveal effect does have two different modes, it is still treated as one effect, so you're not able to use both in the same turn. Madlove here gets you your deck's awesome utility cards while providing some amazing support, either by shrinking monsters so you can run over them more easily, or by just picking them off the field entirely. Now, could you please put those ice cream cones away? The sugar's gonna gum up the fight stick. Vanquish Soul Mthr is a level 4 Earth Beast Warrior monster with 1700 attack and 1900 defense, and if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Its quick effect either has you revealing an Earth monster in hand to keep it from being destroyed by battle this turn, or you reveal an Earth and Fire monster to destroy all spell and trap cards in this card's column. It also comes with the same activation restrictions as Madlove, which we'll also be seeing on everything moving forward. Mthr is an excellent play starter, acting as a quick, low investment material for our one extra deck monster, giving you a body that can't be beat and back row removal, though it is like Mech Knights, where it is locked into only affecting its own zones in the column it's summoned in. We do have some ways of fixing that, but they're few and far between. Still, this is a solid member of the team that I wouldn't be surprised finds itself in other Beast Warrior themes as a free summon in case this whole Vanquish Soul thing doesn't Mthr out. Vanquish Soul Raisin is a level 4 Fire Warrior monster with 1800 attack and 1500 defense, and if normal or special summoned, you can add a non-warrior Vanquish Soul monster from your deck to your hand. Its quick effect either has you revealing a Fire monster to keep Rosin from being destroyed by card effects this turn, or a Fire and Dark to destroy all other monsters in this card's column. This means Rosin works particularly well when lined up beneath an extra monster zone, ready to cause a devastating counter blow if they ever summon to it. Its monster searching effect is also no joke. Not only does this broaden the amount of attributes you have in your hand to make sure you can access all the effects you want, you'll see later that it plays very well with our bigger bosses. And I'm just gonna put this out there, Rosin has the coolest design out of all the monsters. I've seen some cool weapons in my time, but punching people with air turbines is on a whole other level, and it'll really cool your opponent's jets. But maybe not Sprite Jet. Vanquish Soul Pluton HG is a level 6 fire zombie monster with 0 attack and defense, and during your opponent's turn, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, or all monsters you control in the main monster zone are Vanquish Soul monsters, as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And its quick effect has you revealing a fire monster to have Pluton gain 3000 defense until the end of the turn, or a darkened earth monster to gain 3000 attack until the end of the turn. Okay, getting this out of the way now, Pluton has big gimmick character vibes. They don't even really do anything for our theme aside from being a fire we can reveal from hand for our various effects. Outside of that, they just get big in different ways depending on your loadout. You can't even try to put multiple Plutons on board at the same time to go for big damage, because the attack and defense gaining effects are hard once per turns. Still, 3000 in any stat is a lot, so it can be ridiculously helpful when it comes to pushing for game. And because that quick effect is a battle stat changing one, you can wait until the last second, while you're in the middle of the damage step, to try and avoid as much battle position changing nonsense as possible. You'd hate to invest those 3000 points into its defense only for your opponent to hit it with an enemy controller after all. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go look around for some Pluton HG character guides. I may be able to explain what the card does, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around what plus on block means. Vanquish Soul Heavy Borger is a level 7 Dark Machine monster with 2500 attack and 1500 defense, and during any main phase, as a quick effect, you can target a non-machine Vanquish Soul monster you control and return it to the hand. And if you do, special summon this card from your hand. And its quick effect has you either revealing a dark monster to draw a card, or an earth and fire monster to burn your opponent for 1500 damage. Woof, that is a lot! You're looking at potentially 4000 points of damage all by itself in one turn, which is no mean feat. And then you get to draw every turn just for having a dark monster in hand. That's pretty nutty. And don't forget that if you leave your opponent on 1500 or less life points going into their turn, you can just immediately activate the burn damage again to end the game. This can even easily find homes outside of Vanquish Souls. If you're playing a Dark Machine deck and have a way to turbo this out, you're in a great place. And that's easier than you might think, as you can just tech in some copies of Rosin. Use its on summon effect to add Heavy Borger from deck to hand, then just swap them out. But that's not just a way to deploy a giant monster, you can also use it to mess with targeted interaction. If you already have a Borger when you use Rosin or Mad Love's effect, you can just quick swap them in response to a Veiler or Imperm, and now the effect is totally safe. Keep a lookout for this baddie in the future, because they're bound to cause some havoc no matter what matchup you're in. That being said, I know the name is meant to reference the fact that this is a cyborg, but you cannot call it Heavy Borger while in the same deck build pack as the Hungry Borger cards. Vanquish Soul Kaiser Various is a level 8 Earth Dragon monster with 3000 attack and 1500 defense, and has the same swap special summon quick effect from hand as Heavy Borger, though you need to target a non-dragon monster instead of a non-machine. As a quick effect, you can either reveal an Earth monster from your hand to make this face-up card unaffected by your opponent's activated effects this turn, or an Earth, Fire, and Dark monster to destroy one other card on the field. So on top of having an impressive stats spread, you can make it very difficult to interact with, shifting that effect into removal when the coast is clear. It's a tough-as-nails bruiser that can get in with super armor, cause some mayhem, then finish things off with one big powerful super, making it a great monster in various situations. Lastly, we have our singular extra deck monster, which oddly enough takes the ghost trick approach of putting our field spell in the extra monster zone. Rock of Vanquisher is a Link 1 Dark Rock monster with 0 attack, requiring a Vanquish Soul monster as material, and can't be used as Link material itself. While you control a Vanquish Soul monster, your opponent's monsters can only target your monster with the highest attack 4 attacks, their choice if tied. And during any main phase, as a quick effect, you can activate an effect that has one of two resolutions. Either special summon a Vanquish Vanquish Soul monster from your hand, or add a Vanquish Soul monster from your grave to your hand. So not only does this help you deploy your fighters from your hand quickly, especially those not gifted with their own special summoning effects, it also puts them into your hand to not only recycle them from grave, but set up your reveal effects, giving you the attributes you need to ensure your lines of play go as intended. And since Rock doesn't need to reveal anything itself, you're free to use whichever effect each turn that you want. Your opponent better be ready, because with proper usage of this, Rock of Vanquisher is gonna be your opponent's final destination. I knew I'd get that Smash Bros reference in there somewhere. Alright, we've covered all the monsters, so until we get some DLC, let's cover some of their special moves with these spell and trap cards. Stake Your Soul is a normal spell card that has you revealing a monster in your hand to special summon a Vanquish Soul monster from your deck with a different name but the same attribute, but return it to its owner's hand during the end phase. So by revealing a dark or light monster, you can get either Mad Love or Raw Zen respectively to nab yourself another search. And as previously mentioned, Raw Zen can end up being either Borger or Kaiser. Heck, if you already have Kaiser in hand, you can summon Mthr to make the swap, as the card art seems to be hinting here. And because the revealed card doesn't have to be a Vanquish Soul itself, any off-theme monster you splash in can help with this. In fact, it's encouraged. Everyone loves a good guest character every now and again. Vanquish Soul Continue is a quick play spell card that has you paying 500 life points, then targeting a Vanquish Soul monster in your grave, which you either add to your hand or special summon in defense position. Yeah, it's literally asking you to put more quarters in the machine to keep going. I love it. But yeah, this is effectively our Link Monsters effect, though this one just gets the monster right onto the field for immediate deployment. Once again, this will trigger Mad Love and Raw Zen, and bouncing them back to our hand for the swap summons of Borger and Kaiser means we can reset their effects, so you can continue to make use of them. Vanquish Soul Dust Devil is a quick play spell card that targets a Vanquish Soul monster you control. Its battle position is changed, then you can change face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position up to the number of Vanquish Soul monsters you control with different names. This is cool because you can change a monster that was summoned in defense position via continue to attack, then flip down your opponent's monsters so you don't have to deal with them. I don't think this is going to take the place of Book of Eclipse anytime soon, at least at time of recording, but when it's not as dire to undo the cache lock, this is going to be seen as a fantastic way to disrupt opposing setups or shut down big boards, slowing them down enough so that we can leave them in the dust. Vanquish Soul Trinity Burst is a normal trap card that targets a Vanquish Soul monster you control. You special summon up to 2 Vanquish Soul monsters from your hand with different names from each other and different attributes from the targeted monster, but their effects are negated and are returned to the hand during the end phase. Then you can return all of your opponent's cards to the hand in the same column as the targeted monster, as well as the columns of the monsters summoned from your hand. That's a mouthful, but it basically boils down to leveraging the power of having multiple names in hand. And while these summoned monsters have to have attributes different from the targeted monster, they don't have to be different from each other, so you can summon 2 of the same attribute if it ever comes up. It's a bit difficult to pull off during the early game, but makes for a great search off of Mad Love once you've got everything set up, as the removal here is stellar. And while the summoned monster's effects will be negated that turn, you can still get a ton of use out of them. If it's your turn, you can obviously attack with them, or you can tag them out for either Borger or Kaiser. So, despite what it may look like on the surface, this trinity is bursting with value. Vanquish Soul Calamity Kaiser is a counter trap card that you can activate when your opponent activates a spell card, trap card, or monster effect that targets any number of cards you control while you control a Vanquish Soul monster. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it, then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of 1 Vanquish Soul monster you control. That's right, you can punish a targeting effect with up to 3,000 points of damage. Talk about a hyper counter. Once your opponent has lost 5,000 life points, they're at a point where the slightest slip up means a devastating loss, which isn't actually that much different from high-stakes fighting games now that I think about it. So once again, the mechanics are doing a great job of reflecting the source material. Alright, so that's all of our Vanquish Soul cards, but what do we do with them? Well, I've got to say we're on the aggro side of mid-range here. We've got a few interrupts we can use to knock our opponent sideways, with enough offensive power to keep juggling them until we get the knockout. So what can we play to help them out? Well, the most important part is actually getting them into rotation in the first place. To help get us our free special summon from Mthr, Fire Formation Tenki, as usual, is a great choice to help it show up in our hand. Once that's done, we can summon Mthr for free, link it into Rock of Vanquisher, use its effect to put Mthr back in our hand without even using our normal summon, and now our hand is all stocked up. For Razen, Reinforcement of the Army is the gold standard for level 4 warrior searchers, but because it's a fire warrior, we've actually got another option, Infernoble Arms Durandal. It adds a level 5 or lower fire warrior monster from your deck to your hand using its first effect, which thankfully doesn't lock you like the second, and doesn't even care what monster it's equipped to. If you're in a pinch, you can slap this onto an opponent's monster to get this started. And with the recent addition of Infernoble Arms Almas, you basically have 3 more copies of Durandal, which means 3 more Razens. Since this theme cares about the attributes of monsters in your hand traps can actually help bridge some gaps for you. While powerhouses like Gamma and Nibiru don't quite fit us, Ash Blossom is a fire, Ghost Bell is an earth, and DD Crow, alongside all the basic bestials, are dark. For the Floodgate inclined of you, there can be only one lines up super well with us, since we have 0 monsters in theme that share a type. In fact, because our monsters have such varied stats, Small World is phenomenal. As for a silly tech pick, Alistair the Invoker of Madness is my pick. It requires 2 monsters with different types and attributes for its link material, which we've got in spades, and by adding in the full invoked engine, you can access Purgatrio to do a lot of punching. Heck, if you have the room, go all in and add some branded cards. We don't need to go full Mirror Jade, but if you run Effect Veiler and Albaz, you can play Branded Fusion for Incandescent Dragon for an untargetable 3000 body that can't be super polyed, and gets you back free monsters on each of your opponent's turns. Heck, you can even summon Razen, then make sure your opponent's monster is summoned in the same column, then just have Razen blow it up so you don't have to worry about it. The fusion lock can be a bit of a pain considering we have a link monster we want to have on the field, but once that's established, we don't even have to worry about that. And that's all I've got to say about Vanquish Soul. This deck kicks butt, no doubt about it. With the right hand setup, which you can pretty easily get into, you'll be accruing advantage hand over fist, from searching cards to drawing cards, from avoiding destruction to causing destruction. This deck has it all in one neat little package, and I'd be surprised if this deck isn't a meta contender on release. Just remember to stay focused, learn your matchups, and execute your combos until you have the opportunity to finish them. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Vanquish Soul going to EVO, or are they going to be relegated to the bargain bin? And which one is your favorite? As a dragon lover, I certainly think Kaiser Various is pretty cool, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't also partial to Panthera. They got me acting unwise. Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode was brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. When you want to protect your cards with the power of dragon scales, get some sweet lore for them, and support the channel, check out my link in the description to get started. This video was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including the illustrious Quasar Commander Green Knight, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Andrew Newman, Avi Chali, Kane Senpai, Cameron Berg, Chibi Gohan, Colin Todd, Eric, Frankie, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba331, Great Big Pillock, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Ironic, Iskander711, Jester Designs, John Manji, Jordan, Julius Sneezer, Manor Charge, Marluxia is a Girl, Meteornus, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, RJ the Jank Monarch, Ruxith Sarani, Salen Lucius, Sammy Haim, Sir Knight JCG, Sophie, apparently, the Fresh Prince of Conair, the Charizard Flame, the Wizard Moose and Xander Wolfensberger, Cosmic Crusaders Ariel Kersey, Bear Sharktopus Studios, Beluga Masta, Chaz Ghost, Childish Lamar, Chris Kessler, Corbinisms, Danny Bound, Drachenwald, Emily, Eva Padilla, Gatorade, H2O, Gatorade, H2O, Johnny sucks, he really sucks, Harrow, Herbal D, Jesus Garcia, Kale the Dragon, Carp, King Scarlet Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lord Whoop-De-Doo, Manga Pages, Marion James E. Picata, Matt Simmons, Michael Shimabukuro, Nitromo, Shizuka Nijimura, Shooting Star 3300, Star-Lord 777, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, Tucker Ordorn, and Zaldreka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to be a part of these credits, submit custom cards for me to review, or just help me cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes and lore, please consider checking out the link to my Patreon in the description. And if you'd like to see another video about a trio of important elements, check out this video I made covering Gate Guardian. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.